Design, Italian Design Day. Klemm, Carmel Siciliano-Klemm, di Klemm Homes. Buon pomeriggio. Thanks for coming into the studio of Radio Italia Uno Adelaide.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And I remembered to switch the buttons on for your microphones. Good. Okay, cool. So, let me explain. Well, how I came across, I know Klemm Homes, but how this came across was this opportunity was I saw an announcement on LinkedIn that you'd won an award for Best Builder in the Advertiser late last year.
Yes.
Tell us something about that.
It was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. I guess, other awards you won, you've got to nominate, and do a submission and be judged. Whereas this one, they just rang and said you've been nominated, and I was like, oh, that's nice to know.
That's good.
Like
So that's
choice.
good,
Yeah.
people's choice, and then I guess we've got a lot of our work, especially in the early years before socials were really out there. It was all word of mouth, so it was all referrals. So you do a good job, you do the right thing by your clients, and Adelaide, as you know, is a very small town, and word gets around very quickly, whether you do it right or wrong, has the opposite effect. So we've built a strong reputation with our clients, and then Carmel, even so more recently, has really then started to push that on social media, on Instagram, and some of those social pages, and I think all our clients obviously share that and encourage, and we've got quite a good following on that. So I think then once the advertiser did a social media type scenario that, all of the people, we built for knew, and then everyone they knew, and that whole entourage really got behind us, and yes, got a real shock when they rang us back to say you've actually won it, but a very pleasant surprise.
It was a great surprise because the year before we had won the Master Builder of the Year, and that was a lot of work.
Yes.
The judging process. We were very honoured, but it was hard work. But this one was a beautiful surprise because it was the people's choice.
So you're nominated from, an open view of the community. Now, I went to look on your website. That one isn't there yet, but you've got a whole lot of awards. So, so what was this Master Builders? You actually put in an application and a proposal?
Yeah, so there's two main industries in Adelaide in Australia, the Housing Industry Association and the Master Builders Association. So we're a member of both. We enter in awards in both of them, but yes, you need to put together submissions. So with the Master Builder of the Year, effectively you put in your submissions for that year, and then based on the highest score across all your submissions, they pick a Master Builder of the Year. So we were lucky enough to win that, a couple of years ago now in 2023.
And we won a national award for kitchen design, so that was also a great honour.
Okay, so what kitchen design? When I hear Klemm Homes, I'm guessing you build homes, entire homes, houses. Now, kitchen design, that sounds a little bit different. What do you do?
So we're basically not like a one-stop. From the day that you meet us, we take you through the whole process. So we start at design, and then we look at, once we've got a design and plan established, we establish a budget, and then from there we go on to starting the whole process of building. And we hold your hand the whole way. It's quite unique because we have in-house interior design, and we have a very small team. We say our team's like a family, and we treat our clients like family, and that probably comes from my background with my parents. They had a business and they were migrants from Italy, but we've taken that on board where we treat our staff like family and we treat our clients like family.
So it's a bit different to a lot of builders out there where I did a Bachelor of Construction Management and Economics degree at university, so I sort of project manage and oversee the whole construction side of things and estimating side of things, and Carmel's actually done a Bachelor of Interior Architecture, so then she's overseeing the whole design and selection side of things. So we are basically a one-stop shop. You come to us, we'll organise your design, come and do all the selections with you, and then we'll get it built for you as well, and all whilst adhering to budgets.
Okay, so that's introducing the concept of design now, which is good given the theme for today. How does design impact the building of a home and the living in a home?
Oh, massively, because you can build some really crappy homes, or you can build a home that doesn't have to be overly large, but it has to be designed well. Full height windows, getting lots of light in, spaces that work really well. The kitchen has become the hub of the home, so people, where you centralise that kitchen. I guess COVID has changed a lot how people think and use their home and design, in fact, whereas, if you asked us 5 years ago, people would have put a study in their home. Maybe some people, not everyone. Now we have clients who puts 2 studies in their homes because no one wants to share with their kids.
A lot of more working from home, obviously, since
Yeah.
COVID. So a lot of people are still doing 2 or 3 days a week. So they want a designated study for them to be able to get away, shut the door, and do their work peacefully. So yeah, design keeps changing, keeps
And I think
improving.
another big thing is the pandemic changed how people thought about their homes. Now people want a home that's tranquil. We're seeing this big change to, Italy has played an influence because that people are looking at this Mediterranean design. People want tranquil spaces. They want courtyards that are fresco. They want a wood oven at home. People are spending more time at home, and their home needs to be special and a sanctuary.
Okay, so these trends have been upgraded, I guess, uplifted
Totally.
since COVID.
Massively.
We've seen, especially the alfresco, studies.
People weren't travelling and they were spending money on making their house more resorty, for want of a better word, or a place
Peaceful.
where they could entertain and be peaceful and really enjoy it, and a place to relax. So that has then followed on now with their designs with a lot of integrating the outdoor to in and having that resort feel at home.
Okay, you mentioned your Mediterranean style. Are there other elements of Mediterranean or European design that are?
I think another thing that we've looked at Europe is the fact that the Europeans, and especially Italians and Germans, have been using sustainable methods a lot better than Australia has. So now we've seen a lot of sustainable materials come through, passive ways of building. Troy.
So yeah, we built our own house nearly 4 years ago now, moved into it, finished it. Carmel did a lovely architectural type design for us, and just being in the street we were in, the top story had to be hidden. So it was in sort of the roof space, and I was just looked into it a lot then as to how to insulate or make this house the best for insulation. So that's when I started talking to another builder who has become a mate, because we talked a lot about it at that time, about passive home build. So they build passive homes here in Australia. Now passive home is massive over in Italy, Germany, and areas where it does get a lot colder. But what I did with him is we took what we considered the most worthwhile elements out of a passive house and introduced that into our house. And that was more about heating and cooling and not having to use air conditioning as much, but it was also about not having that top story heat right up. So we did things like wrap the house tight and seal it, so as we get minimal airflows, and we had all cavity battens around the outside of the house. So as the black cladding we had wrapped it with, the hot air that got trapped behind there naturally rose and vented out the top ridge, and we had cool air all around the house coming in underneath the battens around the pathway where it's cooler, and just natural convection meant most of that air rose and went away and was replaced, and none of it come into the house. So it actually ended up making that house much more livable, because we don't have to use air conditioning and heating as much. The temperature in the house stays much more constant, and it had a massive flow-on effect with Carmel, where we were renting in an old 1950s house while we built, the temperature would go up and down like a yo-yo. At night we'd turn the heater off and it'd be 20 degrees in our bedroom. You wake up in the morning, it'd be 11. And it had the old steel frame windows, gaps around the floorboards, and you just get so much temperature, so much dust, so much mildew. Carmel's a severe asthmatic, and in that house she was sick constantly. And literally from then moving into our brand new house, sealed, minimal air changes, all that sort of gear, she's rarely had a trouble with asthma over the last 3.5 years. So, and that's what they say a passive house is. That goes the next step. It's no air changes, it's got a recirculation, it filters all the air in there, and it's like your own little sanctuary that you walk in there and you've just got pure fresh air. So, but then again, that dollar, it's all about dollars and value as well, and working out what's a nice blend. And our climate here doesn't necessarily require that, but there's certainly people who build to that standard.
Interesting. Some of those things, when I was doing some research into this topic a few years ago for our home, in the library at the University of Adelaide, I came across some books from, I think, the 1960s that talked about these things.
Yeah.
And I've been told that knowledge was lost.
Yeah.
And so it's coming back.
It's coming
And
back.
It's coming back.
It's massive in Europe.
Yeah, like even hydraulic heating and cooling, you know, Italians have been doing that for years.
Yeah.
Okay, so hydraulic heating and cooling, what is that?
So
That's
pumping water through the slab. Yep, heating it up.
Oh,
It
yes.
used to be a gas
Yeah,
burner,
when you-
now they use reverse cycle air conditioned heat pumps to heat the water, and then it runs off your solar. So effectively, if your solar's running during the day, you know, you're heating for free all winter, because it doesn't use much energy to heat up the water, it just pumps through. Once your concrete slab, it's a thermal mass. Once it's heated up once, it just tops up, and it's a very efficient way of heating.
Yeah, that requires building, when you're building a new home, you can
Yes.
introduce that.
You got it exactly right, yes, yeah. It's hard to do after the fact, correct.
Can't retrofit.
Yes. Yeah.
And that works for cooling as well, I guess you've got cold water going through.
You can, yes, you can pump cold water through it. It won't be as good as a reverse cycle air conditioning, but the guys that we use say for those days sort of 31, 32, you'll be fine. Once you start going 33 or you get those, you know, we had 5 days over 40, well, it's not gonna work then. But for 90% of summer, you're not paying for heating because you're just pumping cold water through your slab.
Yes, yeah. Okay, and you're saying is used quite a bit in Italy, and I've heard of some relatives of mine who work in real estate, they talk about double glazing and even triple glazing.
Yeah. So Australia just follows a lot of the European, you know, and it's just a little bit behind. So, but no, they've recently introduced 7-star, which goes to now that pretty much most houses will require minimal double glazing to pass and to tick the new 7-star code that they've brought in. So that's been a government force change basically, which, you know, you have some builders kicking up because we've had a lot of increases in building costs over COVID, over everything.
Yes.
So it's just another increase in like the big package home guys' eyes, and those people are struggling to spend, you know, the $250 to start with, let alone another 20 or 25 on top of that to now double glaze a house. Now they'll get that back in the long run, but it's not an instant payback, and you've got to get that $25,000 up front, don't you? So it's all coming in. Thermally broken windows. I mean, what market we play in where it's more custom high-end market,
So
we're
hang on,
already
thermally broken
windows.
What does that called thermally broken?
So you've got an aluminium window here in the studio, and now the heat on the outside of that will transfer straight in because aluminium conducts very easily. A thermally broken window is effectively 2 bits of aluminium with a plastic strip in the middle. So it stops that heat to come straight through. So in Europe, in overseas, much more UPVC windows are used a lot for that exact reason. They don't transfer the heat and the coldness into your house, and that's what passive houses are all made out of. But in Australia, we've always been aluminium. Now aluminium's the best conductor of heat, so it's the worst thing you can use in terms of trying to keep your house cool because it's going to transfer that heat straight in.
Yeah, well, I've got an old house who've got those lovely old timber things,
Yeah.
but they're all quite rickety, and I'm sure there's air coming in and out of that.
Yeah, well, timber has the beauty of not conducting the heat, but yes, has the unfortunate thing of upkeep, maintenance, swelling, shrinking, all those sorts of things, and then yes, gaps around them and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you, either of you, have any experience, or if you travelled to
Yeah.
You can talk to Carmel on this one.
I unfortunately spent all my money in 20s and 30s and, you know, been going up and down from Italy because I had a very big, because of my parents' background, and then when I was studying interior architecture, any chance that I could scrounge some money together to get to Milan or to get to, you know, been to 2 or 3 times to Cedar, which is the tile in Bologna, the tile festival and fair with
So what's it called, Cheddar?
Cedar. It's a big international ceramic and porcelain and stone, natural stones, and I've been lucky to go with my friends at Italian Ceramics, and you know, it's a fantastic experience. And for me, we still, you know, Troy and I just travelled back from the US, but like recently in the last few weeks. But again, even just looking at the US, you know, they're so far removed from where you know, we're always looking at Milan or what's coming out of Italy, and Australia tends to follow those European trends. Even in colour, you know, it's funny how something like the Milan fashion show translates very fast to furniture and design, and then straight to interiors. You know, and even we've seen lately when we talk about this Mediterranean trend, you know, people are going back to those tranquil whites and creams, soft greens. You know, we've moved, finally Adelaide's moved away from this grey, grey.
Everything was grey.
Everything was grey for the last 10 years,
Yeah.
you know, and finally, you know, it takes us a while, but you know, you can see what's coming through in Milan translates very quickly.
Carmel follows a lot of European design, so, and even when we were doing our house, everyone was doing black window frames, like your frames here. That was what was happening. Everything was matte black. Well, you know, we've been in for 4 years, so probably 6 years ago, you know, Carmel said, I don't want black. I said, what do you mean you don't want black? Everything's black. And she said, no, you look at Europe, everything's white now, everything's white. It all blends in, it looks much more sophisticated and just looks slick. And so she made the decision then to do, you know, the majority of the windows in our area of our house white, and now pretty much everyone's doing white.
Yeah, and everyone that walks into our house has this feeling of calm and tranquil, and you know, and that's what we wanted to create in our space. But you know, when we did go to the US, we took that opportunity to go and visit some Italian, you know,
Yes.
like we went to B&B Italia, we went to Casino, we went to Minotti, and you know, because we don't have those beautiful showrooms here in Adelaide or Australia, and even just to have that little bit of Italy, even though we were in the US,
In
was
Miami,
amazing.
but their design
It was an
area
amazing
had some
experience.
great showrooms to look at. Yeah.
Yes. And I think there are also special ways of designing, building homes for people with disabilities or certain disabilities. Remember, I had one relative who was quadriplegic, and I'm not sure how they came up to, because there was a family of builders themselves, the brothers, they built their houses next to each other. The others were apartments, but for this guy, it was a single story, but very wide corridors and entries into a bathroom, very big bathroom.
Yeah.
Now this would have been easily 50 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
60 years ago, think about my age, and when this guy married. What sort of things are happening now for
It's funny you say
disabilities?
that, because
Just
Adelaide
changed, yeah.
has also a lot of, you know, we have a lot of people now either having their parents move in. You know, we see that in the Italian market, but we also see that in the Chinese market, where everyone has their mum and dad living with them. So whilst we don't probably do full disability or design, but we do have looking at, you know, wider doors.
Well, that's all just coming to code.
ramps.
So again, they've just changed it. Livability, housing livability or accessibility, I think they've called it. So yeah, 920 or wider doors, access to one bathroom in the house, and no steps at thresholds into the house. So this is all again coming with a new national code, and again that's a government-driven thing. I assume because of for disability, but also the fact that we've got a reasonable ageing population here as well, and making these houses that we are building be livable for wheelchairs and for any issues down the track. So that's all just coming as well, that there are certain portions of the house that need to tick a box now in design.
And then we're looking at, you know, making sure the tiles aren't non-slip, and you know, it's our responsibility as interior designers to specify the right materials.
Actually, just remind me, when we were looking for a house, one thing that was almost an immediate cross was lots of steps.
Yeah.
Thinking about if we stay here forever.
Yeah.
Or if parents.
And you know, we're putting lifts into most of our homes now, because the cost of a lift is not crazy as it was 10 years ago. So.
Okay, so now the name's Klemm and Siciliano. What's the Italianness in there? Is Klemm a Germanic name?
So the Italians are over here, yes. Now, my ancestors were German, and we're talking 180 years ago, both sides came out to Australia. Okay. So there's not a lot of heritage living on in my side of the family, whereas Carmel's parents come off the boat from Italy when they were 25.
My parents came here in 1969 or early 70s, and you know, as my mum was a teenager, my dad was in his 20s, so a lot of our background is that they've got brothers and sisters still in Italy, so hence why we've travelled backwards and forwards.
So we're from, where are the Sicilianos from?
Calabria,
Yeah.
Reggio Calabria.
Reggio Calabria. There's
Yeah.
a lot of Reggio Calabria here, and in particular.
Yeah, there's a small town called Malocchio, which is I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've
but
heard it, yes.
It's a tiny town, and so I'm very lucky to still have aunties and uncles there, and a lot of our cousins have moved to Rome and Bologna, but
And it sounds like you visited several times.
I have.
We're planning. I haven't.
We're
Yes,
planning
we're
on going
planning
this
on
year.
going back. We want to
With
go
my
back
mum
with
and
her
dad.
parents, and and I'll
Okay.
get the real experience in Italy, the village life, and obviously do a bit of sightseeing while we
And
go.
be good for our kids too, to
Yeah.
have that exposure.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And that's, okay, cool. Do they, I guess they might get to spend time with their grandparents. Do they speak any Italian or understand any?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. So
Yeah.
understanding is important. Well, yeah. On many levels. If nothing else, just getting the brain occupied differently and in different languages seems
Yes.
to be beneficial for when we do get to age. And we're not tripping over those steps in the houses. Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, thank you very much. I just one very quick question before we go. Any current particular trends or products that you might be noticing from Italy?
Lots of our products are Italian, like
Yes.
we use, our appliances, tiles, obviously all come from Italy.
Yes.
We use Venetian render, has been a huge trend, and we're
That's-
really lucky
Yeah.
to have someone here from Venice train
Our plasterer.
plasterer.
So the guy who we use on all our jobs is trained at our house, thankfully,
Yeah.
by an Italian fella who was over here and actually got stuck here for COVID. So
What's
yeah.
Venetian render?
Oh,
No,
so
you
plastering. So Venetian render is a type of plaster that you can do it quite rough or you can do it quite glossy, and it creates like a texture. It's what you see in Venice and most of the walls, and has become a trend in Australia and quite popular, and it looks almost like a micro cement or a concrete. But there's lots of dyeing trades like terrazzo and even tilers and brickies. We're struggling at the moment with trades because no one wants to take up a trade.
Is the terrazzo still popular?
it's all back in now.
Yeah, and
Well,
unfortunately,
It's just
there's no
terrazzo
one,
tiles. No one does
no one
it.
can do it.
There's probably a few out there in Adelaide who can do it, but it's very not the old school. Like my bathroom was terrazzo that I grew up in
Yeah.
at my parents' house. At the moment, we're getting tiles, terrazzo tiles, and laying terrazzo tiles. So yeah, there's no
Okay.
one doing the actual in situ. Pour it and terrazzo. Well, we haven't found one yet. I'm sure there probably plenty listening, but no younger generation probably hasn't been passed on, and that's what's happening in the building industry, unfortunately, is that our best concreters are Italian, but, there's no guys coming out of school saying, I want to do hard labour concrete.
Yes.
That's the issue. So none of this
Same as our
amazing
bricking.
knowledge is getting passed on. Our best brickies, they're all Italian. It's a father and 3 sons, and these are the best brickies in Adelaide, I reckon. And but again, there's not many of the younger guys. It's very hard to try and find a brickie apprentice or a concrete apprentice because no one wants to do it.
Yes. Well, the government's have been focusing a bit on the trades.
Yeah, they
It's
certainly
not
have.
easy. Yeah.
And I sit on the board of the Master Builders Association, and there's a massive push to get funding and to offset it so as we can get more of these trades. We're in schools we go to.
I'm passionate about women
Couple
in
of schools.
construction. I see, we just need to see more women. We need to see, more
Well,
women.
actually, that's
taking on those
interesting.
trades.
In some of my teaching, and I used to run a research subject, and about half the research projects people were thinking about were about attraction and retention of staff and females in the trades.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the
The-
trade is looking for women as
And there used to be none, right?
Yes.
It was an absolute rarity. I tell you what, there's a lot more female painters. Painters is a big thing, and we have a female supervisor, okay,
Yeah.
supervising 7 or 8, $1.5 to $3 million houses, and eye for detail for a female. I think we all know it. They've got a very good eye for detail. So she's probably some of the male trades get a bit annoyed because she picks on their work, not picks on it, she picks them up on their work and wants perfection.
And
so,
our female painter would be probably one of the best painters.
Yeah, because they want perfection as well. So, but yeah, carpenters, females, a lot more female carpenters out there. So yes, there is certainly these days a lot more than even 5 years ago, where it was just, if you saw a female walk on site, you're almost like, hang on, what are you doing here? You're lost. So,
now we want them.
yes, and they're pushing hard, and all the industries are really trying to push for it. And it's really starting to work for sure.
And now a question, switch the microphone on, a question without notice. Is there be a song or a particular singer, Italian song or singer that you might like to request?
Oh gosh.
Do you remember, is there any song that you remember?
Gloria.
Yeah. Oh, Gloria, now I have to find it.
Thank you so much for today.
Brilliant voice for radio.
No.
Okay, thank you to Carmel Siciliano-Klemm and Troy Klemm for coming into the studio. And here's Gloria by Umberto.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.